I need a moment. Give me a second. Okay.
After 16 years of working in restaurants across the Wasatch Front, Scott Evans, MBA class of 2006, is the owner and operator of Pago, Fika, East Liberty Tap House, and Sub and Spoke Eatery. Scott has become something of a local restaurant wonderkind, a unique owner who creates restaurant concepts that excel both at creating outstanding food and services and delivering solid business performance. His restaurants have been recognized in local press, including Pago winning 2014's Best Restaurant in Salt Lake City by Salt Lake Magazine, and countless awards and reviews by local media, as well as national press, including restaurant mentions in the New York Times, the Washington Post, USA Today, Wine Enthusiast, and The Guardian.
I promise I won't make you cry. And hopefully you can't see that I felt like it before. So, good evening. I'm Scott Evans, owner of Pago Restaurant Group, owner and operator. And I'll say those names again because I think we're all trying to catch our breath right now. But Pago Restaurant, Finca Restaurant, East Liberty Tap House, Hub and Spoke Diner. So each of my restaurants is, well, I got all wound up too. So this is what I'm talking about. Veganism, world travel, snowboarding, entrepreneurship. No tears. I'm trying. So each of my restaurants is an expression of a passion that I have for a cuisine, a product, like artisan wine or craft beer, a meal period, or something I felt was missing from our restaurant community. My emphasis has always been to add to the market rather than to mirror any competitors. I literally have searched the globe for inspiration and have been fortunate to be able to share my inspiration with this community. My path towards entrepreneurship has been, and becoming a restaurateur, has definitely been non-traditional. As such, today, I'll walk you through part of the journey I took to arrive at the point where I'm at today. My intent is not to summarize what I learned while studying for my MBA or working in the industry, but what I learned outside of formal avenues that gave me confidence to take calculated risks, develop my passions, and follow my dreams. It starts with snowboarding. Unlikely path, I told you. Probably like many of you, I became pretty competent in several sports, from hockey and soccer to skateboarding. But snowboarding was that first sport that pushed me in ways that no other hobbies had not. Hitting 20-foot tall jumps at full speed and flipping and twisting 40 to 60 feet over obstacles requires commitment and training. I would set my sights on learning a new trick, visualize myself doing it, and then attempt the trick over and over again until I was able to land it. I started with basic tricks like a 360, but when I landed my first switch backside rodeo 720, I felt like I could land anything. I was invincible. I pushed hard to keep progressing and spent a season in New Zealand training to take my love of snowboarding to the next level. Overcoming fear of injury and committing to new tricks is intimidating. And pushing through that fear and uncertainty allowed me to experience the rush of doing things and perfecting something until I perfected it. I missed that line. Sorry. Pushing through the fear and uncertainty allowed me to experience the rush of doing things and perfecting something I felt was not possible. That's what I was supposed to say. Although injuries increased and other passions emerged, I truly pushed myself past my comfort zone on a regular basis. World travel, that's where it all started. So I don't recall where I first read it, but there was a major difference between visiting somewhere as a tourist and visiting as a traveler. A tourist brings their point of view everywhere they visit and focuses on documenting their experiences rather than experience them directly. A traveler immerses themselves in the local culture and experiences rather than documents their travelers. Whether you stay for a week or a year, some people have never experienced being a traveler. Admittedly, I've been both a tourist and a traveler. However, my first experience as a traveler began during a 1-month camping, surfing, and skateboarding trip from San Diego to Whistler, Canada. Europe was next. After making our way through Germany, we tested our luck hitchhiking across Spain. The reality of being thousands of miles away from home, without anyone knowing where I was or what I was doing, was exhilarating, and was my first taste at true independence. Going to the markets daily and preparing meals from what was only in season and fresh was novel. Dining in tapas bars with the mashup of a restaurant and bar experience was exhilarating. In several small Spanish towns, they would fill the alleys in front of their homes with dining tables and eat amongst the stars and their neighbors. Dinner was an event, and sharing and imbibing were celebrated. I had not experienced that firsthand, and it stuck with me. Later, I linked up with two travelers I met while hitchhiking in Portugal, and we decided to head to Morocco together. Morocco was unlike any place I had imagined. The spice markets, the stark but picturesque landscape, my inability to blend in were life-changing. 6-foot-tall white guy not wearing traditional garb. It was very interesting. Little side note, first time I learned do not sit cross-legged on a train in that moment. The bottom of your soul is offensive. It's a middle finger to the culture. And I, as an American, learned that day one, 10 minutes into the train ride. But cooking a tagine on a rooftop, those are tagines in a wood-fired oven. Cooking a tagine on a rooftop in our B&B in Seti Fatma, a small mountain village in southern Morocco, may be my best food memory to date. I can still smell the spices toasting in the clay oven while listening to the sound of a traditional Berber wedding taking place below our balcony. I still literally get goosebumps. Veganism. No one's heard of this topic at all, I believe. I have a different take on it, but it was a big part of my life. So with the food experiences I had abroad, I started to develop strong doubts that what I was eating at home and in restaurants was providing me with that same sustenance I felt while shopping local markets in Spain and eating hand-churned butter and artisan cheese in Austria. For the next 6 years, I dove headfirst in learning how everything was grown and raised and began an ingredient obsession. The vegan ethos complemented my obsessive nature. For nearly all of those years, I had worked in and managed vegan and vegetarian restaurants. I learned how to make bread, sprouted my own grains, grew wheatgrass, and even studied Taoism and meditation with a vegan spiritual group. Yes, I was obsessed. I was all in. The sense of community and excitement about ingredients was shockingly similar to the reverence for food I had experienced in my travels. While I was a vegan, I became hyper-focused on vegetables and organic farming practices. Really, the commitment to responsibility and sustainably sourced products started with veganism has stayed with me ever since. Today, this ethos is a foundation of my restaurants because of my time as a vegan. Entrepreneurship, this is what I was asked to speak on. I finally got to it. You may be wondering what veganism, world travel, hitchhiking, and snowboarding have to do with opening restaurants. With the same leap of faith it takes to stick your thumb out on the side of the road in a foreign country, I launched my first restaurant, Pago. Pago is an expression of my passion for supporting local producers, artisan wines, and a dynamic food-driven concept. It is still rather unique in Utah today, yet in 2009, there was not another restaurant committed so completely to featuring local products, hyper-seasonal menus, and providing a fine dining food and service in a casual environment. A wine program was equally as unique and was often rewarded for our commitment to small producers and championing little-known wine regions and wine varietals. Finca is my ode to Spain. The flavors of Spain and tapas culture are so new to Utah and the US, I wanted to share that with Salt Lakers. My approach to Finca is not common in Spain or in Spanish restaurants across the US. The main departure is that we write the menu around local seasonal ingredients rather than all imported products. Also, we choose to feature dishes ranging from the Moroccan influence in southern Spain to pinchos and tapas of the northern Basque country in Spain. Spain is so provincial, you rarely see that approach inside Spain. The Basque people just eat Basque food, the southern people just eat southern food. It's very, very separate. From studying how other great cuisines have evolved outside of their native country, I noticed a trend. When the first French, Italian, or Spanish restaurants open in the US, they rely mostly on imported products and attempt to replicate the cuisine of their native country. Over time, top restaurants begin seeking out the best regional products in the peak of their season and apply their native cooking techniques to those products. While subtle, it's a huge shift in quality and concept. Nearly every top Italian, Japanese, and French restaurant in the US now applies this logic. East Liberty Tap House allows me to share my love of craft beer and my vision of a neighborhood watering hole. My version comes with quality, locally sourced food. In great neighborhoods around the globe, a walkable watering hole and gathering space that connects the neighbors through food and drink is a must. The Tap House has become that place for many that live around 9th and 9th. Hub and Spoke Diner allows me to eat local organic eggs any time of day, 7 days a week. I was inspired by the legacy of diners in America and how much they've been part of so many communities near and far. Most restaurants, especially breakfast spots, buy food primarily on price alone, and quality or the source of ingredients does not drive their purchases. Hub and Spoke puts quality first in all of our purchasing. I imagined a place serving local organic eggs, organic sustainable meat, house-made desserts, and quality beverages, both alcoholic and not. From the best locally roasted coffee to Salt Lake's first boozy shake. I envisioned the beverages to be as carefully thought out as the food. That is what we're offering today. Hub and Spoke also references the diner my grandfather owned in Minnesota, the Hub Cafe, which my father grew up working in. Since opening restaurants, my other passions certainly had to be balanced by the sheer amount of work it takes to run a restaurant, let alone 4. However, every year I force myself to leave the restaurants and seek inspiration. Over the last couple of years, I've traveled back to Spain and Italy numerous times. I regularly visit New York, San Francisco, Portland, Napa, Sonoma, Willamette Valley, and Walla Walla to meet with winemakers, brewers, distillers, olive oil producers, and cheesemakers. Building relationships with the folks that make the artisan products we serve allows me to share their stories and their craft with our guests and create meaningful connections between producers and consumers. As early as the 19th century, nutritionists, doctors, and gastronomes have declared, "You are what you eat." Whether fact or fiction, literal or figurative, I take pleasure in supporting quality producers and sharing them with our guests. Thank you for having me.